Reito awakes from a deep sleep and finds himself in a world where 5 men exist in the world due to an epidemic. He is selected for breeding as a part of a repopulation program. The story begins as a young medical student identified as Mizuhara Reito is seen to be confessing his feelings to his childhood friend, Elisa. It also clearly dissipates that the two have come a very long way in liking each other. However, things take a solemn turn when he reveals that he was diagnosed with an incurable disease called cellular sclerosis. He painfully explains how he would have to be induced into cold sleep for 5 years to be cured. Obviously this doesn't end that well for them as he proceeds to undergo this treatment while his older brother and sister accompany him for their temporary last moments before the inducement takes place. Elisa shows up crying and muttering she would wait for him after the 5-year duration. Reito hands her his precious necklace as a sign that they would surely meet up no matter what. His stay in cold sleep for 5 years eventually elapses and the events welcoming him are rather ironic to what he was anticipating. Realizing he is the only living male amidst 5 million women in the world and how a virus termed MK virus has successfully wiped out the existence of the male gender during the space of 4 years. Through the aid of the personal assistant attending Torto, he is introduced to the #1 man who survived the MK virus through cold sleep. He also learns that there are 4 other men in the cold sleep too. Reito's assistant also uses every given opportunity to convince him about his mandate. That is to sleep with as many women as he pleases so the reproduction of offspring, most especially baby boys, would be possible. Reito downright turns down the offer so many times even though he is being seduced or shown a variety of available women prepared for him. His main resolution is to find Elisa after he discovers she is missing and to discover a cure for the raging MK virus. During the course of his research he gets a hold of a clue Elisa left behind for him. It also states that the virus was man-made by liars and acts of deception. Reito also builds ahead to do a live broadcast letting the world know that there is a man alive. This action however leads to the conclusion that the United Women Japan branch is hiding the information about having men under their watch. As the news comes out as a shock to all, a bullied teenage boy wakes up from cold sleep and becomes the #3 man to survive, facing the reality of what he has become. He lives in disbelief of his new life. He gets to reunite with his old teacher who always stood for him when he was constantly bullied years ago. Memories from his former high school life surfaced as flashbacks when he tries to adapt to the new world he has to face. He gets to continue his high school education and his former school, but this time it is way different as he is surrounded by female students who seem to be all over him. No sooner does he get adapted to his circumstances than his old teacher and he gets a moment alone in her dorm room, and from there they make love for the first time, sparking a romantic affair between both of them. Things are quite difficult for the #3 man as he tries to adapt to the girls surrounding him. Most of the time they fight over him and the situation is quite hilarious as he runs from one girl's problem to another. The reality of not seeing his old teacher for a very long time breaks him when he is informed that she is transferred to another city. Deciding he would enjoy his best life without her, he takes advantage of the situation and slowly gets himself loose by meeting with the girls around him. He is no longer the innocent boy anymore as the coldness in his eyes indicates a surge of hatred for all the bullying he faced years ago. He will definitely make up for it by engaging in different lustful adventures that are quite wild, letting him explore things he always wanted to do sexually. The UW headquarters sends representatives down to Japan after discovering they've hidden the existence of 5 men away from the entire world. Back at the abandoned hospital, Reito and his team go further in on their investigations and discover a strange facility. Bursting into the scene without meaning to, they meet the technical director and her team who seems to be carrying out suspicious activities. Knowing they have been caught, the technical director aims to finish Reito and his team off. But the ACT did not go through as they were outnumbered by the director of the UW operations and her team, who shot them all, saving Reito and the rest in the process. The evidence they could have gotten on the UW Japan branch and the cure to the MK virus is all cleared when the whole building gets consumed by planted bombs. As soon as they all escape on time, we also get to see the #3 man has willingly given in to his lawful desires without holding back, engaging in more physical contact with his female peers and living in the liberty of his own reality of meeting at will. An unknown strong terrorist group begins to take drastic actions by getting hold of all living men. They cannot succeed at capturing #3, though it was a close one there. This clips him as to why so many strange things are happening lately. His assistant later reveals the whole truth. He was always made to believe he was the only man existing in the world, but definitely we all know those are lies. She also builds a hit to inform him of the terrorist movement that has been raging outside the academy walls since he was never allowed to leave the school. Meanwhile, the UW director's aide puts the UW Japan branch under arrest for defiling orders and concealing the men from the whole world. They take up the number 1 and the number 2 men under their custody to protect them from the terrorists. A twisting case of events happens when the terrorists hijack the airwaves. We see Elisa as their leader as she makes some claims indicating that they have catered away with the number 5 man successfully. They also insisted that they are not the bad guys at all, rather they are a body called a tsunami who would protect the world from lies. The UW is feeding the whole world. The most shocking reveal she makes is that the UW body is the ones creating the MK virus themselves, as their aim is to totally wipe out the existence of men and start up a world with women only. Now, this gets interesting as we hit the apex of this anime season. Everyone is either debating on the UW or Izanami side, or they are too shocked to absorb the state of things that are happening. Reito is one of the conflicted humans as he really wants to rely on the Izanami, but the UW clearly dismisses the news as fake. He also gets to meet the number 3 man for the first time as they have a little chat about the events rocking them. Reito later makes a decision with his former assistant to plan an escape plan, but they were eventually captured by the director's aide for conspiracy plans. This shows us that indeed the UW is guilty of what the Izanami accused them of. How shocking! However, the arrest was not possible as they were ambushed by Reito's team, recapturing him from their hands. They also get swift assistance from the locals to make an escape to Taiwan, where Elisa and the Izanami group would receive them. Lastly, Reito gets in touch with all the people that stood by him and supported him, as his team finally makes their escape through water transportation. Finally getting to Taiwan, he gets to reunite with his childhood love, Elisa. The moment stirs and warms our hearts. Despite all the challenges they both went through, they persevered and they were able to reunite. Eventually they both decided to take down the UW body together with its own team and Izanami group, so the world would be able to regain its normalcy of having met. And again, what an eventful season this anime has been.